one of the greatest Illuminati lies, and which we must make an effort to understand. This world, and its origins, are very different from what they have told us, or will tell to us. In the video of the oceans I already recommended the book about the Masonic birth of modern science, because it's important to know about the Jesuit covering, to understand the educational control that exists over everything ancient, on the legends that cover aspects and primal foundations that science will never be able to corroborate. Everything ancient concords with what real science tells us. Kabbalah and alchemy, and they correspond with what are now physical laws.
When I first made the correlations between Kabbalah and science, I was stunned.
We do know that Isaac Newton had access to certain mystical texts, certain texts of the Kabbalah.
Well, the Kabbalistic description of creation is coming from a single little point, from a speck, and of having matter form and time and space form all together at the very beginning.
I couldn't believe that the Kabbalists could derive these truths without really knowing any mathematics or physics.
I'm not a philosopher. However, I am rather dazzled by the fact that many of the basic mysteries that we find in string theory, the theory of everything, seem to be mirrored in the Zohar and in the Kabbalah.
As a scholar, the most amazing thing of all is the degree to which modern astrophysics sounds like a Kabbalistic text.
Atoms, and all current concepts of quantum physics, were already shown in very old engravings. All this is real. There are very old secrets that they will never tell us in schools or universities. They are only interested in you to be a good slave, and working all your life for them to obtain little papers, to believe yourself better than others, educating your children to perpetuate the slavery. Right now there is a worldwide awakening going on. Many people are realizing these lies and seeking for help. Let's remember that we all need to eat. We need pieces of paper even for solar cells, or for tools, or supplies to get out of the matrix. That's why some pieces of paper are still necessary now, for obtain goods and their game. But it is up to us to educate for the future, so that our children know how to value life and nature. We must start to changing our goals as humanity, and realize all the lies under which all we are subjected. The knowledge that not agree with the educational system is hidden and minimized, so that the majority remains in ignorance. People commonly believe in what governments tell them. They believe in the official history. They believe in what they were told since childhood as undeniable truths. However, as we have already said in past videos, nothing they told us is like that. Let us remember the Dark Age and its silent concealment. The giant megaliths and the Upats. The Masonic lodges and their astronaut members. That's why NASA and the intelligence agencies respond first to all Illuminati interests. This is the Information Awareness Office. Yes, the one with the sinister pyramid in the eye, radiating a light or a hologram in the shape of a globe. Let's remember the ancient symbolism. None of this is taught in schools, because it would be very serious for them if we knew these things since childhood as true. Continuing with this idea, the true flat earthers cannot be dismissed as ignorance, since each one of us presents information that the common people have never asked or investigated. The flat earther cannot be considered ignorant. because we don't forget any of the knowledge about the heliocentric model. Instead of that, we investigate it more further beyond. We are making a criticism of this theoretical and unverifiable concept. A criticism based on all those strange things that NASA and other space agencies show to us. A criticism with a mathematical and real scientific basis, in which the curvature does not appear no matter how high we go. Said curvature only exists in their altered images that these agencies presents. In this video we will examine the main foundations and postulates that sustain flat Earth, as well as some ancient legends that will prove to us, without a doubt, that nothing they tell us is like that. Let's begin. In general, human beings accept the idea of the concept of infinity created by theoretical physics. Careful with the word theoretical, cause that means unverifiable. NASA and the concepts related to space are all theoretical physics only conceptualized in equations, making them fit on the paper, but without corresponding to real observable and reputable facts. Space-approved companies, and these Masonic agencies, are the only ones who support and can prove their own postulates. These government space agencies are closely linked to the military and the intelligence espionage. These spy agencies are the only ones supposedly capable of showing everything in relation to space. All measured from statutes postulated by Jesuit astronomers. But then, why people can't understand the concept of infinity in terms of an infinite dimensional plane? We must remember about the ether, which is very similar to what in physics currently called dark matter. The early official astronomers, such as Maximilian Hell, a Hungarian Jesuit priest, he established in 1769 the supposed distance from the Sun to the Earth, based on fraudulent data about the transit of Venus. There is very little information about this, but I leave a screenshot of the article here, so that you can search for it. Continuing with this idea, the only that astronomers see are little lights. Wandering lights, or still stars. Their measurements, as we have seen, are based on false assumptions to accommodate the story in such a way that becomes mostly incomprehensible and unverifiable for the common person. Like the Aries fail and the conspiracy on the commercial telescopes. You can search for it, for a better comprehension. One of the main postulates of the Flat Earth movement is, as already said, the lack of measurable curvature. This curvature does not appear, no matter how high you go. We should be able to measure and check it without any problem with the measures they provide. But as said, curvature is always unverifiable. An interesting and irrefutable fact is the territorial plain known as the state of Kansas in the United States, whose is famous for its tornadoes, and which its territory total area covers more than 213,000 square kilometers of full plain without curvature. Also places like the Ione Salt Plain, which has a total flat surface of more than 10,500 square kilometers. Another example is the Nile River, whose current runs more than 6,600 kilometers against the supposed curvature of the Earth. To find its level, All the water in this world flows by altitude, from its born place, the so-called springs, or sources of manna. Incredible places that we already talked about in a past video. Following this idea, and analyzing the properties of this dense etheric element called water, we can understand that one of its properties is to flow until it reaches its level. When finding it, it will adopt the shape of the recipient that contains it from the bottom, and, from the top, it will appear flat, this by the action of the higher ether, the etheric kingdom of air, which compresses it. In addition to their respective density. Let us remember that the etheric planes, they are grouped as heterogeneous substances. Having said this, we can understand how water at rest will always adopt a flat level on its surface. The water of all oceans are flat. This has already been verified using a simple construction level attached to the bow of a transcontinental ship. These ships do not disappear on the horizon. In this video we can see how with an optical zoom camera we can bring back that ship that had already disappeared for our sight. Many tests have been carried out with these cameras, managing to visualize points that should be covered by the supposed curvature. Another of the great proof is Polaris, the central star, also called North Star, the only star that does not move in the sky. How is that these stars are still seen after so many thousands of years? If supposedly we are traveling in the space with the sun at almost 50,000 kilometers per hour, the stars definitely should change. Yet, we still see them forming their constellations, and they have been the same for several thousands of years. The compass is another proof, cause they only point to that place under the star. They do not point to the supposedly center of the earth. If it were so, it would point downwards. Instead, they point to a place at ground level. The south point is just the back head of the arrow. The south is only the opposite, by giving the compass a second point. In reality, the south does not exist. All that points are the south. In that place, there is a highly magnetic point at ground level, to which all compasses point. The Black Pyramid, or Rupes Nigra. As indicated on very old maps, this is the point of convergence of this plane with the others. A portal. The Old English etymology of the word compass is come pass. Come and pass. Or come peace. This ancient site has been represented by many cultures and in very different locations through the world. Mostly with the same legendary parameters, being the point of convergence of this plane with the others. Later, we will talk in more detail about this overwhelming site, many ancient secrets surrounding this legendary place. This is one of our hypotheses. An image created by this project, in which we give our conceptualization about how it might be outside this biosphere. the lunar and solar cycle. Polaris is the guiding axis of the gear. The dome, taken into consideration by what happened in the high jump mission, as well as the Operation Fishbowl and Operation Dominic, as well as what's described by Admiral Byrd. Another reason why the dome was rescued in our representation was because there must inevitably be another source of light, something that reflects sunlight. Since following the principles of photolighting, if there were no second source of light, we would live in a world of twilight, a very different sight from the dazzling and wonderful light that is observed day by day. In this way, we can understand that the sun is not millions of kilometers away as the Jesuit theories tell us. Being much closer and rotating in cycles on us, melting the ice in the far parts, and forming a wall of ice at its edges. 1. That function as a container for the water. The continental pools, also called oceans. The lowest parts of the world in terms of altitude. That's why, at the North Pole, we have 179 days of sunless period, the so-called polar night, where there is so few light only due to the refraction of what we think is a dome or firmament. Cause it's like a mirror. But then, what is at the North Pole? Well, it's like a giant magnetic tower. This black tower, or pyramid, emits an ingranic force. A green magnetic force, starting from the Polaris guiding axis. One on which we call the Northern Lights, or Boreal Aurora. Another of the proofs would be the incomparability of the movement of rotation, or translation. All of us going right now at more than 1,600 kilometers per hour. This tremendous movement has never been measured, felted, or verified in real life, only fitting into giant unintelligible blackboard equations, but being unverifiable in its ineffable cosmic reality. An example of this is the experiment conducted by Michelson and Morley, which discovered as true something that were paradoxical in the history of science. The conformation of the ether. The substance conceived in extremely ancient legends about something invisible, but with physical properties, which fills up the entire universe. That thing that remains, when the air is removed, the lights off, and the rest is frozen to -273 degrees, to absolute zero, the lowest possible temperature. Following that, this highly complex experiment sought to measure the speed of light in relation to the movement of the Earth, assuming that it was rotating, and that the light would be slowed down by the drag of the air, or fasted up, in addition to the direction of the rotation of the Earth. Nevertheless, none of this happened. Cause the light don't show any variations on their speed. That's because no movement was detected at all. The ether has no direction or drag force, being more like a quantum field. The gravity is another lie. Since small objects don't get attracted by giant mountains, only for having more mass. Gravity doesn't exist, as they say, only density. Another interesting test is the relative size of the Sun as it moves away, which clearly follows the laws of horizontal helical perspective, reducing its size as it moves away, while appearing to go downward. It is the same effect that we observe in many experiments. So, we have a stationary and etheric dimensional plane, composed mostly of frozen water, possibly with other inhabited worlds where there are other forms of social slavery. Maybe in some of them exists an utopian society where people are truly educated in nature, communion, and wisdom. A society where knowledge be used for an enlightenment goal. Here, the true knowledge is hidden just for a few some. But why is that they have lied to us? Let us understand that it's easier for them to control people who believe that they are as little as a sand's grain. People who lack spirituality and who believe that they cannot get out. People who believe that their existence is fortuite and by a mistake. They want to educate us to be just a virus of this world. A virus that they need to eradicate. That was born without a purpose and by mere chance. And that their only objective is to work all their life just to get some pieces of paper. If we all knew these ancient secrets about alchemy and magic, about ancient history and the true shape of this world, and how it is made for life and communion, they could not control and dominate us the way they do. In reality, the only things that really matter is life and respect, nature and communion with all, respecting each other and living sustainably, using technological alchemy for good, and not to kill each other for seeking to dominate and manipulate. Because it does not matter what form this world takes, if we learn to live in communion with nature, sharing all this knowledge and educating the children to stop playing their game, we will achieve something incredible. But for that we need to educate children in wisdom. For them to care for this. This is our home, the only one we will have. And it is up to us to learn, to thrive, and be better. Let us teach children not to live enslaved for obtaining papers. Let us teach them that there is another alternative. Let's teach them to educate their future children in the same beliefs. Let's apply technology on what it's truly necessary. Let's make this world proud of us. Very soon we will make this project something incredible. Share. We believe in the truth and in the human being. It is time. Let us educate for the future, or they will do the same to us over and over again. Hiding the ancient truths beneath lies and laws. Let's talk about this on a daily basis. Of everything inexplicable and miraculous that exists in this wonderful world that is made for us. We speak the truth and we will be heard. You just have to wake up from the great deception. The system does not work. Time to get out.